Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got the tank review for the brand new Tier 8 Premium Italian Tank Destroyer, the SMV CC-64, the Vipera. Now the Vipera is the first of the Italian tank destroyers to come to us here on console, and as a tank at Tier 8 for a premium tank, it's pretty solid. I'd say it's pretty well balanced, I think if anything it could do with just a little bit of a buff to its clip reload, not its intra-clip, the actual reload of the whole clip, just because of the way it's supposed to play. But on the whole, I think it's pretty decent for what it does, and that is that it's really heavily armoured on the front if you're against Tier 8s, 7s and 6s. If you're against Tier 9s and 10s, if they're firing standard, you can bounce them really reliably off the turret front, especially when you're hull down and you're not showing your top end. This turret is really, really strong. But if you're in front of them, and they're firing standard, you'll still bounce them quite consistently or fairly reliably off this upper plate and mid plate here, especially if you're sort of, you know, jinking and jiving as you should be. But it does have a lower plate section here that's like 20mm thick, which is easy for everybody to pen as long as they're not firing heat, basically. But it's really heavily frontally armoured until they fire premium as a Tier 9 or 10. If they're firing 300 plus pen premium rounds, they go through this section very, very easily. So that's something to bear in mind. And the armour profile of this tank is also one of those awkward ones where you have to be frontally facing for it to work. As soon as you turn to the side like this, and you have, say, your turret pointing over this side bit, they can pen this cheek with about 210, I think it is, penetration, which most Tier 8s will have, and you'll notice that a lot of people will pen you here, and they'll pen and track you fairly easily too. So you really have to keep it frontally facing. That's just something to bear in mind with this tank. But the camo is really good on it as well, which helps you in Tier 10 games to play a bit more stealthy-like as a tank destroyer. But the gun handling is pretty damn derpy, even in this 6.0 world, which can be just a little bit frustrating. But without further ado, also, this is the skin, by the way, that you can get for 3k gold. As always, 3k gold is steep for a skin, but if you like the skin, I like the skin. I think it looks pretty good, to be honest. I really like the design of it. It just, I don't know, it pops. I just like it. But it's down to its beauty is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the stats of the Vipera. So here we go. It's got 600 horsepower with a 30km/h top speed and a 12km/h reverse speed, 11.72 horsepower per ton. 30km/h top speed, it's fairly slow, to be honest, and a 12km/h reverse speed is atrocious. You will reverse very, very slowly out of situations. If you push too aggressively, you'll realise, oh god, I've got to get back, and it will take you a while to get back. That reverse speed is not good. The top speed at 30 is a bit of a struggle. I mean, it is a heavily armoured TD, so sure, whatever. I mean, you can buff that up with something like the traction system to get it up to 33km/h, and it'll help your hull rotation speed as well. But I feel, for me personally, again, this will all come down to how you feel with it. Because if you feel like the gun's okay, you might not want to spec so much for the gun. You might want to spec for the mobility and stuff like that. It's completely down to you. But you might run traction system for 33, but I think the gun is horrific, and you want to help the gun as much as possible. The mobility you just have to kind of put up with. You've got 1300 hit points, which is around abouts for TDs in this tier. So yeah, 1300 is okay. 18 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed is very slow. It's very slow. It makes this whole mobility of this tank feel extremely sluggish. And yeah, it's just something to bear in mind that your mobility is pretty damn poor. And 18 degrees a second on the hull rotation isn't that nice. Soft terrain resistances are 2.3, medium 1.2, and 1.1 for firm. These two are not that bad. That's not great. You might want to help it with off-road driving or something like that. But again, with the crew, you might have to sacrifice perks for that you want to take for this tank. So I'm not too sure about that. You got 328 meters of steel concealment, which is pretty decent for such a heavily armored tank destroyer. And you can get this down to a very good level with a camo net and a camo crew. And again, when you're in the Tier 10 games where your armor doesn't mean anywhere near as much, you can stay unspotted quite easily, actually, with this tank, with how good the camo is. You got 360 meters view range, which is low, and that means you will struggle to spot things a lot at any sort of, if they're really quite far away, say like 400 meters, for example, you will struggle to spot them quite a lot. And 360 meters view range is not great. You'll be wanting to run optics for sure to make sure that you can at least get some sort of view range and at least try not to get outspotted. 360 is not great, but it is a tank destroyer, so that tends to be what they get in Tier 8. They get very low view range, and that's one of the things. You've got 18 degrees a second turret rotation speed, which again matches your tracks and is not very quick at all. You might want to run rapid aim to help that again, but once again, you might want to take other perks to help the gun and other things in general. Again, this tank will be completely down to how you want to kit it out. You've got a 0.79 meters accuracy during rotation, which actually isn't that bad. You can knock that down to be even better with run and gun, which is nice. For a tank destroyer, by the way, that's not that bad. You've got 20 degrees of elevation, which is fine. 10 degrees of gun depression, which, again, is fantastic for this tank to get on a ridgeline. It's got fantastic gun depression. Really helps to use the armor profile, because when it's hull down, it's very, very good. You do have a 45-degree yaw limit. So basically, the turret only turns 45 degrees to the left and 45 degrees to the right. If you think like a T28 prop can't turn its turret all the way round, but it does have a rotating turret. It's kind of like that. It's like a fair few tanks in the game, to be fair. 45 degrees is your yaw limit. It's not very far to the left, not very far to the right. So something to bear in mind that you do have a turret, but it's not fully rotational. You have 38 degrees... 38 degrees? No. 38 second reload time, which is fairly long, but you can knock this down to 30 seconds, which then again, if you use food and boost with food, you can knock it down to 27 seconds, which, yeah, it's alright. And to be fair, it's pretty quick for how many shells you get in a clip. But I feel like because of this intro clip, which is 6 seconds, and it is fairly long, this probably just needed to be a little bit less, say like 34 seconds or something like that, just to try it. But that does feel a little bit long, 38, just because the intro clip is also fairly long. You've got accuracy of 0.44 meters, which is poor, very, very poor. It's not very good at long range. You've got 3.3 accuracy during movement, which again is not great, and you really kind of want to help knock down so that the dispersion while you're moving isn't that big. You can try and knock that down as much as you can. 3 second aim time is not nice either. Again, you're going to really want to help knock that down just because of how poor the gun handling is, and I do try and knock that down. I get it down to about 2.43, I think it is, something like that. You do get 5 shells in the clip, which gives you a 2000 clip, which is really goddamn nice at the tier, but it does take a long time to get it out at 6 seconds intro clip. Now, the idea behind the Italian tank destroyers is that they are an unconventional autoloader, and that is that they have a sustained DPM while the clip is in, and that is that the clip on the intro fires faster than most single-shot tanks with the same alpha at the tier. I mean, that's pretty much a tier 10 reload for 400 alpha. And then you get 5 shells in the clip, and it was, you know, on the PC, the Italian inception is that this reload is like 24 seconds or 25 seconds, something like that on PC, so that this clip actually reloads quickly, and then you go with a sustained DPM on the intro, and then the whole thing is to keep your enemies guessing whether you're loaded or not, because you have 5 shells. It's difficult sometimes, especially in the heat of battle, to keep on top of how many shells a Vipera has fired, and then you just sort of bluff them out while you still keep on going, and again, the DPM is fairly sustained. On ours, obviously, with a 38 second reload on this clip, it does feel a little bit worse in terms of just how slow it does get it out. But yeah, do bear in mind, this is an unconventional autoloader, like I say, and they're all going to be fairly like this, where they're fairly long intro clips, but they reload the clips a little bit quicker. And yeah, 6 seconds is a bit long, but you just play it a bit more like, again, a bit more like you are a single shot tank, as opposed to a autoloader where, you know, you don't go all in on someone and go, aha, I shall clip you out, and they fire just as quick as you do. You've got to play a bit more conservative with it. Like I say, you got 1936 DPM, that's because the clip is long, and, you know, the intro clip and that, you'll knock that down and make that better with all the crew skills and stuff. 220 pen on the standard rounds is decent for a heavy tank at tier 8. For a tank destroyer, that's not as great. And against a lot of tier 9 heavies and tier 10 heavies, which is, well, naturally this tank likes to brawl and likes to be a bit more up close, because that's where this gun really shines. Well, I say shines. It's where this gun actually sort of feels like it works a bit. 220 does start to struggle a hell of a lot, and you might need to fire the premium rounds, which has 264 premium pen. You do have 120 pen HE as well, but just because of how long it takes to reload the clip and stuff like that, yeah, your ammo capacity as well, which has 50, which is pretty decent. I mean, you could take one clip of HE if you wanted to, but the amount of times that you can actually use it, I don't think you can use it that often. And yeah, you have 400 alpha. Your ammo speed is 975, which is not the slowest, but not the quickest on the AP. Does make the shell feel a bit derpy at times, but you do have 1,150 on the APCR, which is actually quite nice, and you do feel the benefit of loading the APCR for shooting at distance, for sure. And you do get a standard silver bonus of 150%. So let's go have a look at the... Oh, well, let's have a look at the Armour model first. So as you can see here, this is the Armour model for the tank. It's actually the same as PC. So we're going to use PC's Tanks GG to show you what effectiveness it is. And as you can see here, the turret face is 290 effective, just sitting face on. That is really, really goddamn strong. And is, yeah, you'll bounce most standard, well, pretty much all standard shells in the game, except for the really high pen TDs on a flat. Your upper plate is 250 effective, 240 effective. The mid plate, like I say, is the one that looks like you should be shooting it. Is actually stronger than the upper plate and is 270. It's kind of a bait. And yeah, this will bounce, this upper plate and lower plate will bounce a hell of a lot, especially if you keep wiggling like this and angling it, you'll make it harder. But as you can see, when you start to turn the tank more and more, the cheeks here become very, very accessible for anybody to pen, and it's very easy to catch shots there. And obviously, if you over angle even more, it's very, very easy to track and pen this tank, as you can see like that. Look, 155, just when it's slightly side on like this. So that's something to bear in mind, that you try not to angle, try and keep it face on. But as you can see, this here is a very, very, very thin target to hit, but it's also very thin in general, 20mm thick. So that is really overmatchable by all 21mm caliber guns and higher, which pretty much most tanks in the game will pen that, pretty much from like tier 3 all the way to tier 10. So yeah, if you're shooting at this thing, shoot for the lowest part of this lower plate and you should go through. It's obviously, it is a hard spot to hit, and you're more likely to hit the upper plate just because of how thin a shot it is, but it's something to aim for. Also, your roof armor is 40mm thick, which means that Russian guns, well, 121mm caliber guns and higher, can actually overmatch this forehead here. So that's something to bear in mind too. But as you can see, when you're using the full width of its gun depression, you can't shoot that bit here. This bit is still thick, but most of the time if you hold down, they won't see this. That's 315 315mm of thickness as well, which is really goddamn good. 370 on the gun mantlet, and auto ricochet on these sides here. It's very, very, very good hull down, and that's kind of where it wants to be. You've just got to be careful of people shooting these flaps here, because they can overmatch and pen you through the flaps here, which is 20mm thick. But yeah, the armor on this tank is really, really good until premium spam hits it. I mean, even looking at the Vipera's own premium, as you can see, if you're flat on like this, you're a 50-50 to go through the upper plate firing premium. And you won't pen that bar very easily. But you see what I mean? I mean, that's only 264 pen. So that's actually the standard pen of a lot of tier 10s, right? So, yeah, just bear that in mind, that against tier 10s, you might want to be a little bit more conservative, be a bit further back, pretty much. But let's go on to the commander and equipment setup. So, in terms of equipment, I do tend to run the optics, like I say, to make my view range anywhere sort of decent. A GLD because the aim time is horrendous, and you want to get this gun aimed in if you can as quick as humanly possible, because the accuracy is also awful if you're not fully aimed in, so you have to be fully aimed in to shoot, to hit things. And yeah, it becomes a problem when you're taking so long to get the gun aimed in. And then a camo net to make the most of its camo, because the camo is really, really good. If you feel like this is a brawling tank and you shouldn't be sitting at the back and you want to be doing it, I do the camo net purely because it helps it against tier 10s, but I can see the possibility of not wanting to run it. You could run the traction system to go 3 kilometers an hour quicker, get better track traverse and that, or run something like vents to, you know, make all-around performance better. And in terms of a crew, I do run the Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanic, Camouflage Expertise, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun. All these gun perks to make the gun as good as humanly possible, because it's awful. Camo net, well, Camouflage Expertise to make sure that the camo is, again, even better. Again, if you didn't want to run that and just want to rely on the camo net, you could run Rapid Aim to make the turret traverse better because it is slow, or you could run Clutch Braking to make the track traverse better, again, because the track traverse is awful. there's all that. Or you could run general mechanic to make sure that you can get your tracks back on, because obviously I do run track mechanic on this tier 8 TD, because if you get tracked, it's very easy to get round it, and yeah, you'll be stuck like a turretless TD and get effectively torn apart. You want to get your tracks back on if you can, pretty much. So let's have a quick look at how the stats are with this crew in and fully fitted out. So here we go, we've got the crew in, let's go have a looky-loo. And here we are with the stats. As you can see, the ground resistance have got a little bit better with Born Leader. Our detectability, our still concealment is 257 now, which is fantastic. 461 meters view range is good enough to spot things, which is nice. You do still wish it was a little bit better, but at least you got to the 445 cap, and you start to devalue camo a little bit with that. You've got 19.55 sorry, degrees a second on the turret rotation, which is still damn slow, but it's a little bit better than it was. You get that to like 21 or 22 with rapid aim, I think. 0.53 on accuracy during rotation is 0.2 better than it was stock, which is nice. You got the reload down to 30.79, which again, you boost with food, you get it down below to about 27. You got 0.36 accuracy now, which is instead of 0.44, which is far, far better, but it still feels hella derpy. 2.35 accuracy during movement now instead of the 3.1, was it? 3.0, something like that. And you've got a 2.43 aim time instead of 3 seconds, which is so much better for getting this gun aimed in if you can, and it's definitely a lot nicer to have it like that, pretty much. I run the GLD just because of this aim time and because of how derpy this gun feels. It just felt really irritating that how long it took to aim the gun in, and that if you didn't fire while fully aimed, for the most part, it would just miss the target. So that's why I kitted it out like that. But yeah, on the whole, the Vipera is a tank that I think is, yeah, it's pretty well balanced. I say the only thing for me is that I think that clip reload could do with just being a little bit shorter, just for how the tank is designed to play. But on the whole, I think it's, yeah, fairly well balanced. And it's a decent tank destroyer. It's not anything to shout about. It's pretty damn well frontally armoured. Especially when you're top tier, you'll do very, very well. When you're bottom tier, it'll start to struggle a little bit just because your pen isn't quite there on the standard rounds, and you'll have to reload premium for sure to face a lot of the tier 10s. And the gun is fairly derpy as well, so you have to hit the weak spots, and sometimes this gun just says, nah, I don't feel like that. But your camo at 257 is fantastic, and you can put yourselves in some very good positions to start just putting out hurt and staying unspotted and stuff like that. So as always, everybody, I'm going to send you over to the replays where you can make your own mind up on this tank. I'm not 100% sold on it personally, but you'll get to see how it handles in certain and different varieties of games. And yeah, you'll see the best game I've had in this tank and stuff like that. So as always, everybody, I'll see you over in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the Vipera. And this first game, we are in a tier 10 game. We are on Cliff. And we've moved to this position here at E6 so that we can get hull down and can start trying to pummel shots in. There's the enemy Vipera. We get a nice shot through the side of his tank there. And now we've got an IS-3 in front of us. We managed to... I don't think actually the IS-3 hit us there. It made it sound as if we did, but I think he hit the Carnarvon there. But we end up bouncing off the front of the IS-3, which, yeah, 220 pen at that sort of angle is not going to happen against that tank. We try and get a shot into the front of the Projectile 54, but it was just a silly shot, really, because it was never going to go in. But we have managed to bounce them all a little bit here. And we're just going to still look for another shot into this IS-3, but he's in a very awkward spot. So we're just going to aim for the cupola of the Projectile, but again, he ends up bouncing off us. And you know, we fired the last shell. So we switched to premium because we're struggling a little bit with the IS-3, 220 pen. We can't really pen the Projectile in that position there, but mainly because 220 pen is not going to deal with this 50 TP in front of us. So we're loading the 264 pen APCR pen rounds to be able to get the shots into this 50 TP and actually be able to affect attacking him. Because frontally on, yeah, we're going to struggle. And we are a tank, I know we're tier 8, but we are a tank destroyer. We're supposed to be able to contest these things, but with the penetration on the standard rounds, you do struggle a little bit against tanks like a 50 TP where it's pretty damn well frontally armoured against things that have got like 220 pen, pretty much. So we get two nice shots into the front of that 50 TP. As you can see, the intro clip at 6 seconds is a little bit long, but like I say, you can make it work. You just have to play a bit more like you are a single shot as opposed to an autoloader, because that's pretty much the kind of reload you have. And we get a nice shot again into this Projectile 54. We're looking for the final shell, and we slap that shell in. We switch back to the standard rounds because we don't really need it at this point. We're up to 2.7k damage, which is pretty damn nice so far. And these guys are going to get pushed in a bit from behind from our guys. They do have heavy tanks at E3. And yeah, these two I'm not really too fussed about anymore because I can see the guys coming in behind them and I can see that they are going to get killed pretty much. And I'm now looking at that Indian Panzer just killed the Carnarvon. And I'm thinking, right, okay, the next phase of play is going to be getting past the guy at H4 and these guys in this middle area. So we've got a heavy tank that's an E5. And the guys behind me can shoot where that E5 is. And I'm thinking, right, okay, you know what? We are going to go after the T-58 Heavy in that from behind. Because if I push this way, hopefully the T-110 E5 will see that they've got distracted with me and push round. So I'm just being very concerned here because I was just very concerned that T-58 on the side could actually get a shot at me. He actually can't. I'd look when I died. Spoilers. And then we find the T-58. We unfortunately got tagged by the Indian Panzer. We bounced one from the T-58. Bear in mind, he's got 276 pen. We're trying to get up in his face to distract him. He does fire a shot straight down into our upper plate, though, which is what he should be able to pen with 276. And again, we're going to try and make this as difficult as possible. We get another shot into his side. He bounces off us with his third and final shell. But that Indian Panzer that was cheeky enough to get a shot into our little cheek, which, again, is very easy to pen for tanks that have that sort of pen. And we unfortunately get shut down by the Indian Panzer, but we do finish with 1,442 base XP, 3,459 damage in a tier 10 game. And you saw, again, the armour, even in a tier 10 game, we were facing 276 pen from that T-58 Heavy. And he managed to bounce 2 of his 3. If you manage to control that engagement, try and make it as good as, well, try and just wiggle, make it as difficult as possible. The armor on this tank can be very, very good. And I mean, imagine being in the tier 8 game, that they will really struggle. But as you saw with the Indian Panzer, however, while we had our front pointed at that T-58, we managed to bounce 2 of 3, which is really good against, again, a 276 pen round. The Indian Panzer penned the cheek. Yeah, that Indian Panzer penned the cheek of the tank, which, again, is only about 200mm effective to 210. So firing his standard rounds, yeah, he easily pens those cheeks as soon as we're not frontally on, and that's what happens. And realistically, we also cost ourselves health because we were so distracted with the T-58 possibly having shots at our side, too. Now, this game on this map, which is Lakeville, we got there in the end. Lakeville is why I like a camo net. It's exactly, we are top tier in a tier 8 game, which is perfect, which is where the Vipera wants to be. But this is why I like the camo net. Number one, our view range here, you can see with the 460. If we were in any other tank that was pushing 470, 480, you know, 380 base basically, probably would have spotted more of the tanks, those heavy tanks, before they got to that position on that cross. But yeah, this is why I like having such good camo on this tank, because we've taken up this tank destroyer position. We are spotting the odd tanks here and there, but we're not getting spotted ourselves. Now, naturally, these guys don't really have that good a view range, but that's because we're in a tier 8 game and not everyone specs for view range. So because of the camo is so nice, we are managing to just sit in a position, keep things lit, and not get spotted ourselves. And in a tier 10 game, that is an invaluable asset, essentially, where, you know, like I said, the armor is good, but it doesn't work as effectively, and you want to try and be a little bit further back. You can sort of take these sorts of positions where you are further forward, it's advanced or whatever, and stay unspotted and not take too many hits. So as you can see, so far, we're up to 1,400 damage with 463 assistance. We've got a nice little kill as well. The medium tank that's down there is now dead. What I'm going to do is push forward and try and see if I can spot anything else that was sitting on that ridge where that Patriot was at K6. And see if we can spot anything else that's sitting on the ledge at H4. And also, from this position over here, we might be able to get shots at these guys in the town. As you can see, the yaw limit on the tank turret is a little bit awkward as well. You've got to really spin the tank round, but naturally, because the tank has also fairly poor track traverse, it takes a little bit to get it round. We actually hit a pixel shot there, which doesn't happen all that often because this gun is pretty poo, but we'll take it, we'll take it. We've got 3 shells left in the clip. Do I reload before getting round behind these guys? You know what? No, because there might be something that's sitting at J2, and that's what we want to try and get some shots into. Yeah, like I said, we're only up to 1,888 base XP. Our team has pummeled the town. Everything that was in the town is now dead, and there's just the stuff that's in the valley on their team. There's 2 artillery lit currently, the M44 here, and another artillery somewhere out and about. One thing that I did forget to mention for this tank is that artillery does love it, because it's such a long tank, and it only has 20 to 30 millimeters of roof armor and engine deck armor. And the way that, you know, artillery does its thing and loops shells in, it's quite easy for artillery to pen you, which is very, very awkward. We're actually very lucky that that M44 doesn't pen us. I didn't think he was going to poke, he was just going to drive around and shoot at us, but hey ho, he ends up getting shot. Yeah, but anyway, besides the point, artillery is very, very easy for them to pen you. Be very, very careful. If one does start looking at you, it can pen you very easily, so it's just something to bear in mind. Now, I ended up ignoring that other artillery because my medium tank was going to go kill it, and we moved into the dip because it looked like the enemy team was just going to pour forward straight towards our cap, and I wanted to get in the dip and try, and because this tank is very slow, try and get myself to keep up with them as they progress towards our cap. But as you can see, the reload's nearly in, 10 seconds to go, and this other Vipera is coming after us. It's like, hello, Mr. Vipera, I am so totally loaded. Okay, I'm not really loaded, but he's tracked with his side to us. We aim for the drive wheel to keep him pinned, and because it's a 6-second intro, if people don't take track mechanic, you can actually perma-track people with it, which is definitely nice. And we get a nice shot into the side there, and he gets shut down before he gets another shot in retaliation. The other heavy tank is coming around the back end of us here, and you can see it even, I mean, this is swampy terrain, but it's so slow to turn. It does take a while. It's one of those things that, because the mobility is a bit sad, and that track traverse is so, you might want to take stuff like traction system and clutch braking just to make the track traverse that little bit better. Now, we get the kill there. Well, no, we don't get the kill. We get the tracking shot and the shot into that VZ-44-1 there. There's still one tank left in this valley, and that is the artillery. And realistically, we're not going to get there, and we make a mistake. The 2 guys I thought were going to stay towards our cap and probably defend it. But they don't. They go straight down the lake road and attack their own cap, and we don't get anywhere near it, and we spend another 2 minutes driving. So I'm going to cut that so that we don't have to suffer that. But you know, we ended up finishing with the victory. 1 kill, 3.9k damage, 1200 assistance, the Confederate, the 3rd class, 1501 base XP. A pretty damn nice game for the Vipera in a top tier game. Again, it showed just how good the camo is. And in a lot of situations, it can be very, very nice, that camo. The gun being, you know, just a little bit derpy at the time is phenomenal because RNG, I suppose. And the reload just being that little bit long and the mobility being a little bit slow. And we're on to the second replay? This is the 3rd replay. The 3rd replay, we're on Erlenberg, and we're in a tier 10 game again. And on Erlenberg, we're going to go to this little position here at E2 because we can try and get shots on people making the cross. As you can see, a machine's already made it. There's an Earthshaker core out in the open. So we're going to aim, long aim time, and we do manage to, well, RNG plays a part, and we get that shot in. I think this game, I was using all the other games have been with a GLD. I'm pretty sure this game was with the traction system to go up at 33 kilometers an hour instead of a GLD. And you can see just how long the aim time is when you're getting that shot in. It just feels like it takes forever. And it's a little bit of pain. So we're going to be very, very patient here, because we are a tank destroyer in a tier 10 game. We're going to be patient. We're going to wait for either this Emil 1951 to make a mistake and drive out in the open and give us a free shot, or we're going to wait for this machine, who will be loaded, to come out and try and attack people. Because we can overmatch the side of the machine and pen it very easily if we get a slight slim shot of it. Unfortunately, we end up missing that shot on his track. We bounced 2 shells from someone over there. So we bounced the Mil 1951 and someone else. We bounced the machine off our front. He does end up penning our side cheek there. And he's out of shells. We try and snap a shot at the Lerva, but unfortunately it doesn't go anywhere near. And we're just going to keep ourselves in a position to try and get a shot at this Emil 1951 or this Lerva. And you can see it's very, very slim shots that we've got here. The Emil 1951 does turn his turret a little bit, but then we pull back, and I decide, you know what, screw it. At this point, we're going to go for a reload, get a full clip in, and maybe I can go down a bit lower, see if I can get some side shots into the Lerva or the Emil 51. But I've not, from this position directly in front of me, on top of this ridge, or should I say, you know, see where I'm just about to go, I don't quite have the elevation to get shots into where this Lerva is or get shots into their side or anything like that, which is a little bit annoying. But we're just, as you can see, backing up, try and get that elevation and render distance. We do manage to get a shot into his side, though, outside of the render, which is nice, but we have to pull forward to get the lurver back into our render distance, which makes it awkward, as you can see, because he is actually below this ridge. We'll try and pop a shot there, a very, very slim shot, but it doesn't go anywhere near, because again, this gun is not good enough for that sort of snipe. As you can see, we end up firing those 2 shells and getting our ammo capacity down to 25, and I decide, you know what, screw the lurver and the Emil 1951, I'm going to make the play. We reload so that we have the perfect amount of shells for the clips, you know, so we get 5, we've got the perfect 5 clip set of ammunition we've got left. And I decide, right, okay, we're going to make the play. We're going to go for the bridge play. We end up spotting the 50 TP prototype, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to pull back a little bit and wait to see if I can get this. Reload in. He stays there, so we get a shot at him, but it only does track damage, because 220 pen at this distance, at that angle, is not going to track and pen the 50 TP prototype. And I decide, okay, you know what? We're just going to pull forward and see if we can get over here to, again, get across the bridge. We've got a bush in front of us, so I was thinking maybe if I get a shot into the lower plate, he won't spot me. But okay, you know what? We're not going to get that shot. Boosted our view range with food so that we've got as good as view range as humanly possible. Pull forward, try and hit the back shot on the move. Nope, doesn't go anywhere near. And it's like, okay, well, we're in the position we want to be anyway. Track traverse being so terrible, we use the building to turn ourselves. And we're in the position I want to be in, which is here at E6, and this is a good position because you can actually spot across the ridge along the 9 line, and you can also get good shots out. And I decided, you know what, screw it. It's been too long at this point to just sit in that position. I'm going to push forward and try and move into a place where my team can get some shots into them. I can spot them, and I can try and get hull down at the ridge at like G8 and stay underneath these people's gun lines. And then, just as I go over, I decide, okay, I'm going to reload premium because 220 pen is going to struggle with the Object 705. And just as I press it, he ends up charging down. And we're in a very, very awkward situation because we're stuck in a reload. I probably should have just stuck with the AP, but that was a mistake we made. But this is a paid actor. He just hasn't... He's like, you know what, just take my body. Take it. Take my HP. And I will give it to you freely, friend. And thankfully, he just doesn't turn around to shoot us. We get a shot into the top of the Sturm Tiger P because it's a fairly awkward situation for him. And we're just going to try and... well, pull around and get shot into his lower plate. Unfortunately, he ended up breaking our gun just as we fired, which meant that we ended up missing completely, sad times, which means we really have to make this shot pen. And I don't really want to shoot that upper plate because that leads to an awkward bounce every now and again on the Sturm Tiger P. But we do manage to get rid of him, which is nice. I mean, if he was firing AP there, he probably would have overmatched my roof and penned me for like 800, 900, something like that, which would have been awkward, but hey-ho. We know there's the T-58 Heavy and the Super Conqueror on this side of the ridge. So we're just waiting for the reload now. I've loaded AP again because it should be their back ends, so I should be fine to get some nice shots into them and pen them. And the reload's in, and I'm like, hello, Mr. 50 TP Prototype. You will struggle to pen me. I'm just going to ignore you. We get a shot into the Super Conqueror, which unfortunately low rolls, so it doesn't quite kill him. And we're going for the lower plate of the Super Conqueror. We're aiming, and the T-58 Heavy takes the shot, and it pens the T-58 Heavy. It's like, okay. Now we're hull down against these guys. So we shut down the Super Conqueror, and I know that I'm pretty well safe. Unfortunately, we didn't quite get the shot into the T-58 Heavy to kill him. We get a nice shot into the back of the Object 705. The 50 TP drives in front of us. It's like, well, okay, sir, don't mind me as I shoot you. And because we're hull down and covering that lower plate, he cannot pen us, and he bounces again. And we've ricocheted 2.9k damage in this game, which is pretty good going. And we're just waiting for the reload. I was hoping that I can get there to get a shot into this Object 705. This is where I feel like that clip reload is just a little bit too long to go with obviously how long they've made the intra-clip reload, or should I say how long the intra-clip reload is and how it wants to be played. It could do with being about 4, 5, 6 seconds quicker, just to, you know, give it the ability to keep in the game. Sometimes it is a little bit too slow for what is going off, and you can't quite keep up. But we do finish the game with a decent amount of damage in a tier 10 game. We finished with the victory, 4 kills, 3.5k damage, 1190 assistance, like that. What, 3 point something K blocked? 1815 base XP. A really nice game for the Vipera in a tier 10 game. Yet again, showing the armor, how good it is when you are hull down and stuff like that. It's really, really nice. And this is the best game I've had in the tank. And it is going to be a bit of a long one, but it's just tank destroy gameplay, and it's Prokhorovka. So, Prokhorovka is a pretty nice map for this tank. We get to tier 9s, and that's because we can go to the ridgeline and get hull down. And if we didn't want to go get hull down on the ridgeline, we could sit back in more TD spots at like C1, D1, or, you know, lots of other little spots and we'd stay unspotted because the camo rating on this tank is really damn nice. So we're going to go to this position over here at F3, and it does feel like it takes a wee while because it does only go at 30 kilometers an hour, which is a little bit slow. And we're just going to trundle along to that position there, because from that position we can get shots at people like that VK4502A and the heavy tank that have been lit up by our light tank, and we can get shots at people down the 2 line. We can also spot people that are down the 2 line too, which will give us a hefty amount of assistance if we play it right, which is definitely a great thing about this position. And you can maneuver this rock in front of us to your left or right to protect you from either side while you're trying to get shots at either way. So we pull over, we try and look for a shot at the TNH, but unfortunately we don't get any shots into him. We take 2 shots from the left into the side of our turret because we were turning to shoot that way. We played it a little bit too aggressively to get those shots in, but we do spot this E75 and that Jagdpanther that were there. We get a nice shot into the side of the E75, and like I say, we are not the most conventional autoloader, so we do not sit on top of the ridgeline just waiting for the intraclip to reload. We pull back, wait, and then pull forward. We get a shot into the Tiger 1, which unfortunately the gun Derp the first shell and only tracked it. But you can see the assistance damage is going up a bit. I'm pretty sure these assisted ribbons, though, because the assistance damage wasn't going up there, is actually purely because they were tracking it. But as you can see, we have been spotting things. We're up to 2.3k assistance. We're spotting this VKB. We can't pen the VKB with our standard AP rounds. That E75 is going to be very, very awkward to pen with our AP rounds again. As you saw, we did pen one. We ended up bouncing off his flat side near enough there, which is really annoying. And again, we can't pen the VKB. We've got 1 shot left in the clip, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to pop a shot at blind at where I think they could be, but we don't quite hit it, and we're just going to wait for our reload. We're reloading AP again. At this point, I realistically should have loaded APCR so that I could deal with E75 if it gets spotted, but hey-ho, we're loading AP. And you can see there's still a lot of shells flying from back corner. That back corner has a lot of tanks in it. Just waiting for this reload, waiting, because it feels like you do wait and age a bit for this reload at times. Now it's in, it's like, hello, Mr. Huntsman, what a time for you to get spotted. We get a nice shot into the side of the Huntsman, just waiting for the clip to come in, and I'm just going to take a gamble, see if he's still there. We end up damaging him and doing a critical hit, so I'm going to take the risk that he's still there, and I've tracked him. We pop a shot, and we do a critical damage. We don't actually pen it, so I assume that he's tracked in an awkward position. I'm not going to waste any more shells. We're looking for a shot at the VKB, and unfortunately that doesn't actually end up hitting, it just misses, and I decide, screw it, I'm loading APCR for that VKB who just got destroyed, so it's pointless anyway, and for the E75 in case he gets lit up, so we can just get rid of that tank. We're just waiting for the reload to come in so that we can pop up again and shoot. I boost my view range with food, and while I'm reloading, I'm just going to poke up, so I'm poking over the ridgeline in the hopes that I can spot something while I'm reloading and use my camo to not get detected myself, and that way, yeah, they can try and shoot things, my team, that are like at D1. So I decided, you know what, this dragon needs to go. So we destroy the cover. Someone else had the exact same thought. We get a shot into the side of the dragon, and the Stay of Waffenträger shuts it down. So that's good. That's their light tank gone. We haven't got a light tank anymore. They haven't. Which is going to make this a bit of a stalemate at times, and it's going to make this have, well, it's going to make us have to be very, very careful to start getting the damage out and trying to spot people. And you can see there's an Iron Rain down there. There's the 50 TP prototype. We know the E75 is still down there. There's something else in the trees too. And the Panzer 58 Mutts get spotted. So we're just going to sit on top of the ridge a bit here, using our good camo to not get spotted while we're waiting for the reload. And it's just like waiting for someone. We're just waiting for someone to poke out and give us a nice shot so that we can get some damage off. And here we go. The Mutts pokes out. It's like, hello, Mr. Mutts. We get a shot into his side. We see a tree go down. It's like, hello, what's that? Oh, it's the Tiger 1. Okay, we get a nice shot into the Tiger 1. We've got 1 shell left for him. And unfortunately, this dead wrecking is a really awkward situation for us to get a shot into him. Do manage to get the shot in, but we do get spotted on top of the ridge, which is really awkward. And our reverse speed is very, very slowly. And we take a big hit from the back, and we just about get away with it and manage to pull back behind this ridge without blowing up. That dead wreck made it very, very awkward to get that shot into that Tiger 1, and unfortunately, I don't think we really should have done it, but it is what it is. We end up taking the hits, which means we have to be even more careful now, because one shot from anything in this game will shut us down. And also, if someone decides to HE us, it's not going to be a good time. So we're just being very, very careful. When we get spotted, we are being very careful to keep our turret pointed towards where I think the danger is. I mean, we're up to 4.1k spotting with 3.1k damage, which is damn nice. That's what, 7k combined for a tier 8 tank destroyer. So far, it's pretty damn good going. But we've got a ways to go yet. This game is... Well, they're 11-8 up at the minute. It's not looking good at all. We have a lot of people on the one line, but we don't have any spotters, and no one's really lighting anything up at the minute either, which makes this very, very awkward, especially when they have such stealthy things like Iron Rains that are sat near the back. It's gonna make this whole engagement very, very awkward. I'm hoping that someone will get spotted. I mean, the team is currently distracted with the heavy tanks like the VK4 Viper 2A and the Tiger 1, which they're going to be, because if they get spotted on that ridge at A1, or, sorry, FG1, E1, you know, that position there, they're going to get shot by these guys. So they've got to go, and they are starting to get HE'd so they can get rid of them. And someone's pinging the map down at J2, and it's true. If they get spotted down there, we can progress this fight. The Tiger 1 shuts down our stay of Waffenträger, which is not good. The VK is still alive. Well, actually, okay, the VK is now dead. Timing. And that's good, because that's one tank that can spot me gone. The Tiger 1 is the other one that could possibly spot me if he pokes his turret above that ridge. But we're going to just... We're just waiting. Because the moment one of those guys fires down there at A2 is a possibility that I might get the shot at them. But I decided, you know what, okay. The Mutts just got shut down by the T-54E2. There was something spotted on the top of that hill at G0. There was something spotted there, and it's currently not attacking the TD and the heavy tank. So I decided, okay, I'm going to progress the other side, the other flank, help them win that flank. Because at the minute, that corner at J2 is unassailable, because they will outspot all our team, and they'll kill them all. So we pull into a position where we're ready to spot. We ping the hill to say, spot. And we're looking for the ready to fire one, which is somewhere. There it is. I'm saying, I'm ready to fire. Look, if you spot what is on this hill, I will shoot it. Then the tanks at the bottom finally get spotted. We start to turn. It's like, no, here is the Carnarvon Action 10. We get a nice shot into the Carnarvon Action 10's side. He's tracked, and he gets shut down by the T-54E2. Now, there's, like I say, the E75, I'm assuming that is at K2 is spotted. I'm going to try and maneuver into position to get a shot into these two heavy tanks at K2. If I can get the shot into them, we end up getting lit up. It's like, hello, Mr. Tiger 1. Goodbye, Mr. Tiger 1. Thankfully, there's nothing in a position to shoot us. We can just see the side of the C-75. We're just aiming for that pixel shot. Thankfully, it goes in, which puts the C-75 down to a one-shot. And... yeah, now there's no one else over there, except for one medium tank at F1, which makes this very, 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 very awkward. I'm going to go over here, and I was thinking, okay, I'm going to move over here again to see if I can help this medium tank, because now that all those guys have died along that one line, I was thinking they're going to push aggressively against this medium tank, and I want to be in a position to farm it. But now there's a TD pushing across the hill, so I'm like, okay, I'm going back, I'm coming back. We're coming, we're going to go get a shot into this guy and try and help out these guys again, because I want this heavy tank and TD to be alive so that they can wrap around the back end along the K line and try and help us win this game and try and spot things along there. So we're just getting to the point where our render range is in. We can see this Sturmpanzer aiming the shot in, which is where I really like having the GLD. We get rid of the Sturmpanzer. Now the TNH is crossing the open. It's like, well, okay, we get a nice shot into the TNH. He's now a one-shot, just looking for the shot, leading it all in, and we fire. And, yeah, unfortunately, there's a dead wreck there, which took the shot, which meant we couldn't quite kill that TNH. But he does get shut down by the Sturm Tiger P, which is a good time. And I ping that corner at JK3, because I'm trying to tell basically the rest of the guys on the team, because we've got a full health 7501K and these two guys on the hill, and a full health T-54E2, which is nice as well. I'm trying to say to them, look, they're all in this corner over here. As far as we're aware, that's where they've all been spotted, or at least we're fighting. So we're going to pull back into this corner to try and help the CS-53 if any of them get lit up. There's 5 minutes left of this game. We boost our view range with food, see if we can light anything up as it's crossing, because I'm still anticipating the enemy team pushing this medium tank, because, well, there's not much left. I see there's a tree down there, and I'm very, very tempted to fire at where this tree is, because I'm thinking, maybe there's something down there. We get detected, and it's the 50 TP prototype. He's managed to move out of that corner and into the position at F5, which makes us a little bit awkward, but okay. I'm still thinking that E75 is in that corner, and maybe the Iron Rain is down there, but nothing is currently lit up. I'm still looking at that tree, thinking, maybe the Iron Rain's at where that tree is knocked down. I mean, it could have possibly been knocked down as well when everything was moving out of spawn, but you never know. At this point where it's a bit of a stalemate, it's always nice to try and get something out of it. So we're just waiting for them to make the move. We've got guys in the cap. We've got guys pressuring. We've got guys with overview of the cap. So I decided, okay, I'm going to take the shot. And we get spotted. And it's like, oh, okay. And there's the Iron Rain. So we poke over, get a shot into these Iron Rain. We get one in. And it's like, please, Mr. Iron Rain, stay there so I can get another shot in. That would be great. But he gets unspotted. And it's like, well, we keep getting detected as we're poking over this ridge. I am a one-shot. We've got to be very, very careful because this game is very winnable now, but it's also still very, very losable. So the heavy tank gets spotted down near their bridge. It's an IS-6. We spot the heavy tank, which is the 50 TB prototype, that just got shut down by the 53. We get a nice shot into the rear of the IS-6, and I'm detected, so I'm thinking that is the Iron Rain still on that ridge line. I was kind of hoping that the heavy tank might proxy it or something like that, but it's not quite happening. And, yeah, the IS-6 is giving us some nice shots into his rear. So we get another shot into the side of that IS-6. We can put him down to a one-shot for our team here with the final shell. So we're just aiming it up, slot it in, but unfortunately it bounces off the front because it didn't quite get there in time to hit his side. We reload the standard, though, because we've got not enough shells for a full clip in the APCR, and realistically, we only need the AP now. We see a tree go down directly in front of us. It's like, oh, God, there's the Iron Rain being aggressive. I'm just pulling back. He can actually overmatch my roof if I'm not careful. So we pull back as fast as we can behind the ridge, but again, it's very painfully slow to pull back behind the ridge. Waiting for this clip to come in, because I can then get the shells into this Iron Rain. Naturally, he can put the shells in quicker. But the Iron Rain's realised he has to try and get over to get the reset into the cap. Although, realistically, I think he's panicked, if I'm honest. And how does that shell goes in? What? You see the little wiggle there going, I have no idea how that went in, but sure, we will take the kill on the Iron Rain. The E-75's pushed up on the CS-53. He shuts that guy down, then drives us out sideways on. And thankfully, the shell pens, I was worried that that might bounce on that guy's side. We get rid of the E-75. This game's in the bag as we get the side shot into the IS-6. And finish the game with a really nice total and a really great game for the Vipera, the brand new Tier 8 tank destroyer for the Italian line. 5 kills, 6.6k damage, 4.1k assistance, ace tank of the high caliber, 2.5k base XP, 10k combined. A really great game for the Vipera, which is a pretty decent tank destroyer at Tier 8. It does a lot of things well and a lot of things badly. I think it's probably fairly well balanced. As I said, the only thing for me that annoys me is just how long that clip reload is when the intro clip is so long too. Could do with just being a little bit quicker. But on the whole, yeah, it's okay. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!